Alright guys, so we are back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be starting a new series on this channel called the Overwatch versus Marvel Rivals Hero Showdown. Now I might change the name later on, but that's just what I'm going to call it for now. And in this video I'm choosing to start off with the newest character in Marvel Rivals, Emma Frost, and she's going to be going up against Ramattra from Overwatch. And the reason I put the two of them up against each other is because I felt like they had similar movesets, at least in some parts, and they're the most similar in both games, so I decided to go on with the both of them. Now I'm going to be continuing this series with a bunch of other characters, but I'm just going to start off with Emma Frost versus Ramattra for this video, and y'all can just let me know your feedback in the comments and I'll definitely do more of these. But starting off with the rules, right, and the conditions. So we're going to be using gameplay only, so no lore. Obviously I know if you want to go into the lore, the Marvel characters obviously are going to win, so we're not doing that. We're only doing gameplay abilities. This is essentially if you took Ramattra from Overwatch with all his stats and everything and you put him into Marvel Rivals and vice versa. So yeah, just, you know, now that we're done with that, we can move on to their actual abilities. And I'm assuming everyone here has probably already played Overwatch, or at least knows what most of these characters can do, so I'm not going to be too detailed or specific with their abilities, at least on the Overwatch side, since it's been out for way longer. All right, now so starting off with Ramattra, we're going to work our way up from the primary fire up until the ultimate. Now his primary fire is his staff that he shoots like nanobots with. It's good at doing like poke damage, especially at range, which you will notice is something that Emma lacks a lot of. But yeah, it's good at doing damage, and also perks have been introduced in Overwatch, and that is actually something that I think I can give the characters for this fight, since it's essentially just if you swap the characters, essentially if you just rip them out of their game, put them into the other game with all of the stuff they can do gameplay wise. So Ramattra would actually have access to at least one of his minor perks and one of his major perks. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. His other ability he has is a shield that he places up. It's a decent shield, nothing too crazy, nothing too special. I think his shield is actually one of the weaker shields in the game. Like I think Sigma and Diva's Matrix might have like more health overall, but his shield isn't retractable though, so once he places it, it's done. It's a one and done thing until it's destroyed. The next ability that we have for Ramattra, I'm pretty sure, is his Vortex, right? So he throws down a Vortex and it covers like a decent area, and it just slows down and does like tickle damage to whoever is inside. You're not really gonna get a kill with it, but it's sort of useful in blocking off areas and pretty much just all of that. Now the other main ability I wanted to get into is his Nemesis form, which is, everyone knows, his brawler form. Now there's two things with this, right? So one, he loses his staff, but he gets increased mobility, so he can walk and run faster. Now he punches, and his punches do, I think, 30 to 28 damage, I think. And essentially, yeah. Now his punches also launch projectiles. You might not see it in first person, but in third person you can actually see that even if you don't actually directly hit people, you can still actually damage them, because his punches launch these like purple projectiles at enemies or whatever he's punching at. So that's just what I wanted to notice. He also gets increased health, obviously, and he also gets a block form as well, where he essentially becomes the shield, and he gets like, I think like 70% damage reduction. So I just wanted to point that out, because I think those are things that are definitely going to be useful in this fight. And moving on to his ultimate, it's essentially a combination of his Vortex and his Nemesis form. He gets he gets this Vortex around him that does way more damage than just his regular Vortex. And yeah, he gets health, he can tank damage. It's essentially just his regular Nemesis form, but he has a Vortex around him that does way more damage than his normal Vortex. Now getting into the actual numbers, we probably will get into that later during the actual showdown, but for now that's just where I'm gonna leave it at for Ramattra. Now moving on to Emma Frost, the newest hero in Marvel Rivals. Again, the same way we did Ramattra, we'll work our way from the primary fire up until the ultimate. Now her primary fire is her psionic like mind beam that she shoots at people, and essentially it does decent damage, especially when it's charged up. When it is charged up, it does actually hurt, like it does good damage, but it does take a while to get charged up to 100. Plus, the fall off range and just the range in general is pretty bad on the primary fire. Essentially, I think it's like 10 meters or so. And once they're out of that range, which is actually going to be a lot of situations where they're out of that range, you essentially do no damage, right? It's not even like, oh, very severe drop off. It's just like no damage, like a complete drop off on your damage of the primary fire. But the other ability that she does have is her I think it's the sentience crystal. Essentially, she pulls out a crystal out of her opponent, essentially like their mind. And when she damages the crystal, the damage transfers onto the opponent. But once the crystal is completely shattered, it takes like a decent chunk out of their health, right? Now, for the most part, you're not going to really be killing other tanks with this unless they're already low. But it is good at squishies and, DPS and support if they don't have like a support, like pocketing them or healing them while you're damaging them the whole time. But it is a decent ability, nothing too crazy. The other ability that she does have is a basic shield, kind of similar to Ramattra, but I think her shield does have less health overall. But her shield is also retractable, meaning that she can take it out and place it somewhere else, kind of like Sigma's shield from Overwatch, if that's what you're more familiar with. And then moving on to the crux of her gameplay, which is her diamond form. And this is pretty much the whole reason why I'm even comparing the both of them in the first place. So essentially, her diamond form gives her ability to do a command grab, which she can do twice in the diamond form before the ability runs out and goes on cooldown again. It does a decent chunk of damage. It does good damage actually, especially if you're by a wall or some type of vertical surface that you can kick enemies into. It actually is, it's pretty strong, so there is that. You can also just sort of do what Ramattra does in his Nemesis form, where you just go around punching people. But for the most part, the grab is like the crux of the diamond form, because that is where you get a majority of your damage from. And she has a kick, so there's that. I think she definitely also has a damage reduction in her diamond form, but it's not like a block type thing. You can definitely still like get melted if you get shot enough in that form. And moving on to her ultimate, it essentially just restrains movement and abilities within a certain distance. Like, it essentially just makes her enemies unable to really do anything except walk towards her, and they also take like a bit of damage as well. That's why it's sort of comparable to Ramattra's ultimate, where it just does damage over time when you're within the range. But that is pretty much what it does. She can't like actively like fight you in it. It's more of a combo ult that you're supposed to combo with maybe the environment or combo with another character. But yeah, that is her kit, and now we can actually move on to the actual battle between both of these characters.
All right, so now going into the actual fight, I think that Ramattra would have the initial advantage due to his better just long range poking capabilities, and the fact that Emma doesn't really have any way to engage the fight at a range, in my opinion. Also, the fight is starting off at around, say, 15 meters or so, so they're not going to be face to face like point blank, but they're not going to be like super far from each other at like, say, like sniper's distance or anything. I do think Ramattra would have that initial advantage. His weapon is definitely way better at poking people at range, not to mention his own shield that he can put up if she tries to do anything. Emma can close the distance with her shield. Luckily, she can't place it way further from her, and it's also retractable as well, so that would probably help. And once she closes that distance, that's where the real fight is gonna begin. And going into that section of the fight, I do think Emma would start to get that advantage when she gets close up. Ramattra does have one thing going for him, being the vortex that he can throw down, but it doesn't really do much. Like I said, it does tickle damage, and I looked into the numbers. At least base to base, Emma does have 650 health, while Ramattra does have 600, at least in his base form. So that definitely would be another point towards Emma. Now, in that up close range, right, she can definitely start off with her sentience crystal, like her mind crush, and her diamond form grab combo, which I think is definitely going to put Ramattra on the back ends, because one, in his base form at least, he's already lower health than her, But two, even if he does go into his nemesis form, the issue with her grab is that it just pretty much stops everything that you're doing for a while. So you essentially can't do anything. You have to watch this whole animation play out, where she just does a crazy ton of damage to you. And not just that as well, but Ramattra does have the advantage in the sense that when he does go nemesis form, his nemesis form lasts longer, I'm pretty sure, than her diamond form. And when he can possibly probably combo that with his vortex, so he can throw the vortex down, go into nemesis form, and just start boxing with Emma Frost. He's probably gonna do a decent amount of damage. I think his punches in his nemesis form do about like 70-ish damage. Not to mention that again, his nemesis form lasts longer as well, so he can sort of do an equal amount of damage compared to what Emma Frost will do to him, right? So I think overall by this point, both characters are still sort of balanced out. Maybe you can say I think they would be equal because Emma has like 50. She has 50 more health on him, but because his melee form, his nemesis form lasts longer, I think he would be able to balance out that initial damage that she can do to him with her grab slash mind crush combo. Now moving on to what I think is the real decider of this fight, which is the ultimate clash, right? I think Emma's I think that's sort of where the ultimate advantage falls towards Emma, and why I think she probably will win this fight, because if obviously if you probably played the game, you already know her ult does. But it stops enemies from using their own ults. Now, even if you say that Ramattra and her pop it at exactly the same time, exactly, down to the last frame, down to the last input, they pop it at exactly the same time, it's probably going to just be worse for Ramattra anyways, because the timer on his ultimate is just going to be running down. Meanwhile, he can't actually do anything. He can't attack her, and even his passive vortex that he has around him in his ultimate just goes down if you stop punching people, which is just very bad for Ramattra. It honestly, he would probably have better chances activating it after she had activated hers, but these characters probably don't, they don't know anything about each other's abilities. At least that's how I'm looking at it. So he's not going to know, oh, I can't use my ultimate while she uses her ultimate. So it's probably just better to have him pop it at the same time she pops hers, which is just gonna be a bad thing for Ramattra, like I said, because now time is running down on his ultimate and he can't really do anything. Plus her ultimate also does tick damage to him. It's damage that actually builds up, because I've used it in game a couple of times, and it does actually damage you a fair bit, especially if you get hit for it the whole duration of the ultimate and you don't just catch them like midway through the ultimate, which is probably what's gonna happen here since it's a 1v1. So she's probably gonna hit him with the whole thing, which is just gonna be very bad for Ramattra, right? And that's sort of where I think the victor of this battle comes in, being Emma Frost. By the time everything is said and done, even if he might still have some time on his ultimate, or he might still have like nemesis form or anything, I think by the time she's done with all her moves, the ultimates especially, he would be so low she can probably just two-shot him with even her primary fire, or her diamond form might even be off cooldown by then, although probably not, because diamond form has an insanely long cooldown for some reason. But yeah, she could probably just finish him off easily with her regular primary fire or the sentient grab, which does have a shorter cooldown. So I think that should be really it. Honestly, I do like Ramattra more than Emma Frost for what it's worth, but I do think she wins. I mean, there's still a chance that Ramattra could win. Obviously, none of this is completely set in stone, but the percentage that she wins is definitely higher than the percentage that he wins when you compare both of their abilities and numbers and all of that. But yeah, that really is my take on it. Like I said, I'm not really being biased towards any character for what it's worth. Like I said, I do prefer Ramattra's character over Emma's easily. But yeah, the boy really has suffered. He really has suffered, and I think Emma Frost does actually beat him, even though it's slightly, very slightly. And like I said, out of 10 times, Ramattra probably could take it like 4 times, while Emma takes it like 6 times. I think she just takes the slight edge over him in different scenarios or instances. The timings of the ability might be a bit different, and Ramattra could win, especially if he has knowledge. But that is just sort of where I'm going to end this video at. I'm definitely gonna be doing more. I haven't decided which one I'm gonna do next, but I have a bunch of just other ones planned out. And yeah, legit, just like and subscribe, and all that YouTube stuff. And we're definitely going to be going on with this. But yeah, I'm going to catch y'all in the next video. Peace.